Welcome back, Africa. You are still listening and tuned into Trans Africa Radio, listening to Young Motivation Youth Talk Radio Show. And we've just had two of my trademark songs, which is Jonathan Butler and Ubibi Winans with Tonight, Tonight, taking us into my show, my favorite part of the show, where we get all spiritual, where we're not afraid to talk religion and we're not afraid to express ourselves spiritually. It is exactly 24 minutes past 9, and as I promised you, today we have a superb lineup with powerful ladies in the studio who are keeping us companies, and Miss Wendy Similane from Faith Magazine is joining us, and we're going to talking about virtuous women and about the latest edition of Faith Magazine that has come up, which is the most powerful magazine that you can ever come across if you want to grow spiritually and become the best woman. And guys, and I seem to think that guys can actually learn a thing or two from this magazine. So welcome, Wendy, and thank you so much for coming out this early in the morning.
Thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure.
And it's the second time that we're having you in
Yes.
studio. You're becoming a resident, which we don't mind. And as we have the copy of your magazine in the studio today, which we probably going to be posting the cover on our Facebook page as well. Just take us through the theme of this autumn season's magazine. I know it's Virtuous Women, and you were dwelling more on marriages and so forth. If you could just take us through it.
Okay. For this season, really, the focus has been on relationships, building relationships, and we speak a lot about also marriage. And we've got our contributors who are well-known sort of power couples, and those are the people that we've used to sort of give the message out there on marriage being sort of a God-ordained institution, and sort of to say to the women of faith, there are beautiful stories out there, and that's exactly what we wanted to share and have in the magazine for this season. And so it's been an exciting time, and we obviously had you as a contributor as well.
Oh yes, my article I've already posted it on Facebook. I'm probably going to laminate it and put it somewhere here in the studio.
Beautiful piece, and very, we're looking at it with the editor, and she said, wow, she's such a brave woman for coming out and sharing stories like that. I mean, it's through stories like that as women we're able to empower each other and know and understand that as you go through your trials and tribulations, you're not alone, and there's always help, and there's always a way out.
Yes, so I'm not going to mention anything. I'm not going to blow my own horn. You just need to get the copy of Faith Magazine, which you can get at any CNA stores around the country. It's just an investment of 25 rand, and the knowledge and the understanding that you get out of it is very powerful. Going back to what you've mentioned about marriages. I mean, a lot of young people don't believe in marriages anymore. It's just now become something that is of a taboo. People are afraid of jumping into marriages, and I know, reading through the articles here, the editor just tried to revamp and get people to understand what it is that God was trying to do when it comes to marriages. Just in your own words, what do you see marriage as? And how can we get young people to be excited and understand that it is part of life, and that it is nothing to be afraid of?
I think for me it's just about understanding relationship. The God that we believe in, the God that we pray to, is a God of love, a God of of sharing and caring. And for me, marriage has always represented that because of also how I was raised and where I was raised.
Yes.
So it's been a very important institution, and one that has sort of inspired me as well as I'm growing up as a woman, and I know exactly what it is that I'm looking for. And I think first and foremost, what it is you have to seek spirituality, and you have to know and understand that it's not for fun.
Yes.
And I think as young people we get into the trap of just making it all about fun when it's actually serious business that really needs you to also, and there's the strength that you just cannot get from anywhere else, but being
Yes.
a spiritual being and understanding that God is there to lead your way.
Exactly.
In that sense, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, when you enumerate, for me, I just look at it as anything that comes from God, as a gift from God,
Yeah.
should have something good to it. You know, as challenging, as difficult as it may be at times, but you know, God knows He doesn't want us to grow old and grey alone.
Mhm.
You know, it may be challenging, but you know you've got a companion that is there for life.
Mhm.
You know, encouraging you, empowering you, and just being your, you know, your, how can I, your inspiration
Yeah.
on a daily basis.
Mhm.
It's powerful. I was actually looking through the pictures for the launch, and sure, they look exquisite, which you can also, which you can also see at right at the back of Faith magazine. The launch. Did you guys have good responses in terms of what took place in the launch and so forth?
Uh-huh. The launch was a very successful event for us, and really it just gave us the strength, or rather the wings,
Mhm.
to just fly on from then on. And from the launch and the success of the launch and the fact that we can actually implement an event of that nature,
Yeah.
we were obviously inspired to, as you know, we've got a high tea coming up.
Yes.
So we,
Yes.
we know how to party.
Yes.
And so we're going to do it again.
Exactly. Which we're going to be talking about shortly. It's happening next week, by the way. But for now, we're just breaking down the magazine because we really want you to get a copy and just, you know, get inspired. And sorry to cut you there. You were saying?
No problem.
Mm.
No problem. So yeah, and so the launch was it was challenging,
Mhm.
obviously, because we were getting into a brand new space.
Yes.
For all of us in faith, and having the success and having the support from everybody that supported us on the day, just literally meant, the initial idea of there being a need for such a publication
Yes.
started sort of coming true, and it really showed us that this is what everybody needs as much as we need it.
True. You know, as I was going through the magazine, obviously preparing for today's interview yesterday, I came through a very powerful piece by Mr. Makubo, and sure, I was touched as a young mother, you know, who struggles on a day-to-day basis in raising a child and trying to inject those godly values into my daughter on a daily basis, and a quarter of the time you feel like you're failing. Am I doing it right? And after I read it yesterday, I thought, you know what, God has a plan. God knows how He wants us to raise our kids and so forth. And this piece for me was just very powerful, and it just changed my mindset to say, you know what, half the things that I'm doing it at the best of my ability, and I just need to leave everything in the hands of the Lord. What would you say to the young mothers out there? I know that you're not a parent as well, and but in terms of Christianity, the way you were brought up, because what would be the tips and the ideas of, you know, constructing it from what Mr. Makubo was talking about in the article?
I think I think I'll give you a response in the sense of a child.
Okay.
Because I'm the child, and obviously due to the fact that I don't have a child.
Yeah.
So how I see it is that where I come from, my parents raised me with and instilled values that I know could not be found anywhere else but through God, through spirituality, and through understanding the Bible. And so that's where I come from. That's where we come from.
Yeah.
And I think after all the frills sort of fall away, and I say frills, it's all the warm fuzzy things. So as you grow up and you get to now stand on your own, you then always are able to make reference to those principles. And then for me that's been the power of God and family and having Him in the family, and understanding that as a child you will never stop demanding. And so I know that as a parent as well, you sort of would feel that you're just not doing enough, well, when in actual fact what you're doing is the one thing that God wants you to do, and so you're doing the right thing. And everything that you're doing as a parent, you're doing it through the love of God as well. And so you're definitely destined to succeed.
Yeah, hey, and it's a very challenging thing to be a mother, and I thank you for putting it from a content of a child. Looking at it that way just really opens up a person's eyes. But I mean, if you take them and you try and you raise your kids in the best ability that you can be, using all the values that God has given us in terms of the Bible, the way God says we must love our kids, and and as parents we are a reflection, and that's one thing that Mr. Makubo also reminded me of, that to our kids we actually symbolize God.
Yeah.
So when we're raising our kids and then we're loving our kids, we need to also have that firm, tough love to our kids to say, this is what you can do and this is what you cannot do in this house, and I'm raising you according to these guidelines because I love you and I want you to be the best that you can be.
Yeah.
A virtuous woman, peace. Powerful piece. I read it. It just took me back. Proverbs 31. The kind of woman that we always strive to be, and the kind of woman that we're most of the time afraid to become. Because when you read Proverbs 31, you you're thinking, how in the world was she able to do that? A woman that will wake up in the early hours of the morning, without anybody else being up, and she's already up. She's a working woman, she's a wife, she's a mother, all of that, all in one. I mean, what is your description of a virtuous woman? How do you now take those principles of Proverbs 31 and put them into your life and make them habits that you live by on a daily basis?
I think for me, the one thing that talks to me as a woman of virtue, or a virtuous woman, is the fact that I don't believe there's a mistake, or where I am, or what I am doing, or what I have done thus far is by chance. It is all through the God's love, and I admit that to myself, and I accept that, and every day that's what keeps me going and lets me smile. As a young woman, and the times that we're in as well, we experience so many challenges at work, in relationships, in friendships, everywhere really. And the pressures of life as well. Over and above that, you still have to provide your own bread, and put it on the table, and make sure that your soul is fed, and everything around you, and you have to take care of your own safety as well. And so because of all of that, and in my being sort of successful in taking care of those basics in that sense, I truly believe that it is things that I would not have been able to do if I did not understand the deeper sense at which my sort of spiritual grounding had to be. And so every day I'm able to give thanks to God, and I know by giving thanks I will receive more. And every day I'm able to say, Lord, make me a better person, and thank you for giving me this day, because and by doing and affirming all of those, I know that I will be able to succeed, and I know at the end of the day I can come back and say, shoo, another one has gone. And it was a successful day as well. So for me, being a virtuous woman is really that, to say you with all that is said and done, with all the pressures that you've got, with everything that you know, or what you think, or or what you don't know, at the end of the day, there's the basic principles that will constantly remain with you, and it is those ones that will always lift you up and bring you back and let you bounce back. You have your low moments, but after that low moment, you bounce back, because you know what your drive is bigger and larger than what anybody could ever imagine.
Of course.
And a virtuous woman is one that is able to say, my God will not stop at anything.
Exactly.
To get me to where I want to be.
Yes, and through him he says everything is possible. If I believe it, I can do it. If I want it, I can have it. Whatever my heart desires. Phew, Africa, what an inspirational chat that I'm having with Miss Wendy Simelane. You're still sitting here with me, Ujabulile Kumalo, on transafricaradio.net, or you could be tuning in to us from your DSTV Audio Bouquet on channel 172. We're just going to take a little bit of a breather. It is exactly 27 minutes to 10, and then we're going to come back and we're going to chat more about the high tea that is happening next week, what you can expect and so forth, how you can get to dress up and look pretty and take out your old hat that you haven't taken out in a long time and just enjoy in a company of powerful women. Thank you. We'll be right back after this.